check your bank account. Bills paid, savings sitting there, no financial disaster. And somehow, it still feels wrong. You're working, you're earning, you're being responsible. So why does wealth still feel like something happening to other people? Why does progress feel so slow? Why does being smart with money somehow feel like standing still? Because the most dangerous financial mistakes rarely look like mistakes. They look like discipline. They look like safety. They look like adulthood. That expensive apartment because you deserve comfort. That cash sitting untouched because at least it's safe. That promotion you took that bought status, not freedom. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Some people never become wealthy not because they were reckless, but because they were careful in all the wrong places. This was never just about money. It was about what your money was building, a future or a cage, and the rules that actually create wealth. Most people follow them too late, or never. Let's start with the first one, because it looks harmless, and that's exactly why it wins. Top 10, comfort that expands faster than income. You get a raise. Nothing dramatic, just enough to breathe a little. And almost immediately, your life expands to meet it. A slightly better apartment, more delivery food, a nicer phone, a car payment that feels manageable, nothing reckless. That's the trap. Because lifestyle inflation never arrives looking irresponsible. It arrives disguised as progress. You tell yourself, I worked for this. And you did. But here's the hidden problem. Every upgrade becomes permanent. The raise was temporary. The expense became identity. Now your income has to protect your lifestyle instead of building your future. That changes everything. Because wealth is not built by how much enters your life. It's built by how much escapes it. And most people don't notice the shift until they feel trapped by a life they designed themselves. You're not earning more. You're financing maintenance. And once that happens, every future decision becomes defensive. You can't take risks. You can't buy time. You can only protect what you created, which leads to the next mistake. Mistaking visible success for actual freedom. Top 9. Looking rich instead of becoming rich. There's a strange pressure that arrives quietly. You hit a certain age. People expect things. A better car, a better watch, a better neighborhood. Proof that you're doing well. Because wealth today is often measured by witnesses, not by reality. And this is dangerous. Because looking wealthy and being wealthy are often opposites. One spends to create perception. The other protects to create options. But perception feels better. It gets applause. Wealth gets silence. Nobody compliments your index fund. Nobody notices your emergency runway. Nobody claps because you can say no to bad opportunities. But they notice the car. So people buy symbols and lose substance. Short-term validation. Long-term dependence. Here's the uncomfortable part. Sometimes you're not buying the thing. You're buying relief. Relief from comparison. Relief from insecurity. Relief from feeling behind. That's expensive, because insecurity has no final purchase. It always asks for one more. And if your money exists to impress people, it can never belong to you. It belongs to the audience. That audience gets louder when fear enters the room. Which brings us to the rule most people break first. Their relationship with cash. Top 8. Safety that quietly gets poorer. You say you're being safe. Money and cash. Money untouched. Money protected. It feels responsible. No risk. No stress. No surprises. But inflation doesn't care how disciplined you feel. It just keeps taking. Quietly. No notification. No dramatic loss. Just purchasing power disappearing while you call it security. That's why this mistake survives. Because nothing looks broken. Your account balance stays the same. Your future doesn't. This is slow loss, polite loss, respectable loss, and people trust it because it feels calm. But calm is not always safety. Sometimes calm is decay. This is one of the biggest wealth illusions. Believing preservation is progress. It isn't. Sometimes it's just delayed panic. Because one day you realize you didn't protect your money. You protected your fear, and fear is expensive. Especially when it teaches you the next dangerous habit. Waiting for certainty. Top 7. Waiting for the perfect time. You'll invest when the market feels safer. You'll start the business when income feels stable. You'll take the risk when confidence arrives. Later, just not now. It sounds rational. It sounds mature. But later is one of the most expensive words in finance. Because wealth compounds, and compounding is brutally unfair to hesitation. The first years matter more than the later ones. Not emotionally, mathematically. Miss enough early time, and effort can't fully replace it. That's what hurts, not bad decisions. Delayed good ones. People think wealth is built by brilliance. Often it's built by starting before you feel ready, because certainty never arrives. Only evidence does, and evidence comes after action, not before. Here's the truth nobody likes. You are not waiting for the right time. You are waiting for emotional permission. That permission rarely comes, so people stay still and call it planning. But time is making decisions while you hesitate, and the next mistake makes that even worse. Trying to win fast. Top 6. Chasing speed instead of direction. Everyone wants the leap, the stock that changes everything, the one investment, the one move, the shortcut, because slow wealth feels boring. And boring doesn't look powerful. But wealth is usually boring. That's why most people abandon it. They start comparing steady progress to someone else's highlight reel. Someone turned $1,000 into $100,000. Someone caught the perfect crypto run. Someone retired at 32. And suddenly, your consistency feels like failure. That comparison creates financial self-sabotage. Because once normal progress feels insufficient, discipline starts to feel stupid. Then comes the chase. Hot stocks, fast flips, aggressive leverage, desperation wearing ambition's clothes. And this is where it gets dangerous. You stop asking, is this sustainable? And start asking, what if I miss it? Fear of missing out is stronger than logic. It always has been. Because humans hate regret more than they love reason. But the market punishes emotional speed. Fast money usually creates faster lessons. And most of them are expensive, which leads to the midpoint. Because this was never really about investments. It was about something deeper. Top 5. The identity behind financial stagnation. This was never about money. Not really. It was about the version of you that keeps choosing safety over growth. Again, and again, and again. You say you want freedom, but your decisions keep protecting familiarity. You say you want wealth, but your behavior keeps defending comfort. That contradiction matters, because money follows identity, not intention. Read that again. You can't build a wealthy life with habits designed for emotional survival. You can't create freedom while needing every decision to feel safe. And most people don't have a money problem. They have a self-trust problem. They don't trust themselves to survive uncertainty. So they overprepare, oversave, overthink, undermove. This looks responsible from the outside. Inside, it feels like quiet frustration. Because deep down you know you're capable of more. You know this isn't really caution. It's avoidance. You're not protecting your future. You're protecting your current identity. And that identity has a cost. A massive one. Because the next rule decides whether money becomes a tool or a trap. Top 4. Owning things that own you. People talk about assets. Not enough people talk about obligations. Because some purchases don't just cost money. They cost flexibility, the oversized mortgage, the luxury car payment, the subscription life, the expensive standard of living you now must defend every month. At first it feels like success. Then it becomes dependence. Now your job isn't funding freedom. It's feeding fixed expenses. You can't leave. You can't pause. You can't think clearly. Because survival now has a monthly invoice. This is where many high earners get trapped. They look successful, but they are financially fragile. One interruption, and everything shakes. That's not wealth. That's expensive stability. And expensive stability is still instability, just better dressed. Ask yourself, if your income stopped for 6 months, would your life still belong to you? Or would everything start demanding payment immediately? That answer tells you more about wealth than salary ever will. Because real wealth is not what you own. It's how long you can remain free without permission. And freedom depends on one brutal rule. Control your time. Top 3. Money is time in disguise. People say they want money. Usually they mean something else. They mean space, breathing room, the ability to say no, the ability to leave, the ability to choose. Money is stored time. That's the game. Every dollar is future flexibility. Every unnecessary obligation is future time sold. And most people spend time first, then try to buy it back later. That rarely works. Because once your life requires maximum income, your freedom becomes negotiable. You stay in jobs you hate. You tolerate people you've outgrown. You postpone the life you said you were building. Not because you're weak, because your structure demands it. This is the spike most people avoid. You're not building wealth. You're maintaining a life you can't escape. That sentence hurts because sometimes it's true. And if it is, the problem isn't budgeting, it's architecture, what your life is built to require. Because if your money doesn't buy time, what exactly is it buying? That question gets even sharper when we talk about the people around you. Because wealth is social. Whether you admit it or not. Top 2. Your financial environment is deciding for you. Look around. Your standards, your spending, your expectations. Most of them were borrowed from family, friends, co-workers, culture. The people around you teach you what normal costs. And normal is expensive. If everyone around you normalizes debt, debt feels safe. If everyone normalizes consumption, restraint feels like failure. If everyone normalizes financial chaos, discipline feels extreme. That's why environment matters more than motivation. Because motivation is temporary. Environment is daily. You don't rise to goals. You drift toward norms. Quietly, repeatedly. And the worst part? You often defend the very patterns keeping you stuck. Because they feel familiar. Because they feel like home. But familiar and healthy are not the same thing. Sometimes your financial life doesn't need more information. It needs distance. Distance from habits that were never yours. Distance from definitions of success you inherited without questioning. Because the final rule, the one almost nobody talks about, is the one everything else depends on. And it's not about money at all. Top 1, build a life you don't need to escape from. Most people think wealth is a number, a target, a finish line. It isn't. Because if your daily life feels like something to survive, no number will fix that. You'll just need more, and more, and more. This is the final illusion. Believing wealth is arriving somewhere later, after the next raise, after the next investment, after the next milestone. But if your entire financial system is built around escaping your present, you will always feel behind. Because you are using money to compensate for design, not create intention. Real wealth starts earlier. It starts with asking, what am I actually building? A life that looks impressive, or one that feels free? Because the goal was never millions. It was ownership. Ownership of your time, your attention, your decisions, your future. And some people spend decades chasing money, when what they really wanted was permission. Permission to live differently. Permission to slow down. Permission to stop performing success and start building peace. That permission was never waiting at the end. It was supposed to shape the beginning. And if that realization feels heavy, good. It should. Because clarity is uncomfortable before it becomes useful. So no, wealth is not about one perfect investment. It's not about timing the market. It's not about looking successful. It's not even about income. It's about structure. What your money protects. What your habits repeat. What your future is quietly becoming. Because the scariest financial failure is not losing everything. It's spending 20 years building the wrong life, efficiently. That's the part nobody warns you about. And it gets worse. Because some things feel safe, while costing you growth every single year. Not dramatically, silently. Your job, your routines, your relationships, your comfort. And that's where the next layer begins. The top 10 things you think are safe but cost you growth. Because sometimes the biggest risk is the life that feels completely normal.